My name is Jenna Moore, and if you're here looking for a happy ending right from the start, let me stop you right there. You'll have to walk through a very dark road with me before you see even a flicker of light. I'm 30 years old, founder of a cybersecurity startup once ranked in the top 10 most promising companies in the Northwest. I had an office on the 22nd floor of a glass tower in downtown Seattle. I used to think I was the pride of my family, but one day, after I placed all my trust and $8 million in cash into the hands of the people I loved most, they disappeared. No explanation, just a note, and a void that nothing could ever fill. But this story didn't start with betrayal. It started with a childhood haunted by quiet favoritism, not in words, but in the way my parents' eyes always turned toward Ashley, my sister, as if she were the center of the universe, and I was just orbiting around her. We grew up in a rundown one-story house on the outskirts of Spokane, Washington. 3 rooms, one for my parents, one for Ashley, the golden girl, and a tiny corner barely big enough for my bunk bed, a desk, and a hand-me-down wardrobe. Ashley is 3 years older than me, blonde like sunshine, sparkling blue eyes, and somehow always knew how to charm everyone. She flunked most subjects, but teachers would say, Ashley has potential if she just applies herself. She broke Mom's crystal vase. I got scolded for not watching her. She brought her boyfriend home at 16. Dad just sighed and said, she's growing up. And me? When I won a state math competition, Mom said, yeah, keep being smart, but go help with the house chores. Dad warned, don't make your sister feel bad. I worked part-time at a bookstore from 16, bought my own computer, paid for my own driving lessons. Meanwhile, Ashley bounced from one failure to the next, modeling, MLM scams, a failed nail salon, funded entirely by loans my parents took out for her. They'd say, you're doing well, you've got extra. What's the harm in helping your sister a little? But that little dragged on for over a decade. Every time I said no, I became the cold-hearted daughter. When I got a full-ride scholarship to the University of Washington, no one came with me on move-in day. I dragged my suitcase alone, opened my own bank account, shopped solo for cheap kitchenware. It rained that day. I remember huddling in my dorm room calling home to share the news. I had been accepted early into a research program and would get additional funding. Dad just grunted and said, your mom's crying. Your sister just got dumped. Call back later. And that's how I learned to swallow my own joy, so I wouldn't make anyone else feel small. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the victim mentality type. I learned to use pain as fuel. While Ashley quit her salon job after 1 week because customers were rude, I spent nights coding, working as a research assistant, pulling all-nighters for cybersecurity certifications. I built my career out of hunger, a hunger to be seen, to be valued, to have someone in my family look at me with pride. I launched my first company at 26. Took 2 years to land a contract with a local bank, another year to secure seed funding. When I came home for Thanksgiving, Mom proudly told the neighbors, Ashley just got new designer boots. Aren't they fabulous? Oh, and Jenna. She works somewhere in Seattle, I think. I don't blame Ashley for being the favorite. I blame the way my family used me as a tool to maintain their illusion of fairness. That if one child works hard, the other must be supported, no matter what, and I did. I paid Ashley's medical bills, her little debts, though no one ever called them debts. They called it family duty. If someone asked me what hurt me the most in life, I wouldn't say losing $8 million. I'd say this. It was the moment I realized the sister I once gave my bed to, hid my grades for so she wouldn't feel compared, took on debt for, never actually saw me as family. Ashley had always been the beloved one. That I understood, even if I didn't agree. What I never understood was why, for so many years, I accepted being used like it was just normal. I still remember the year I was 22, finishing college and interning at a cybersecurity firm. Ashley, then 25, had just failed at opening a spa. She called me crying in the middle of the night. "I don't have rent for the space. If I don't pay in 2 days, I'll get sued." My parents didn't hesitate. "Co-sign the loan for your sister. She has no one but you." When I hesitated, my mom snapped, "It's not like you need money. You've got a full scholarship. Help your sister out for God's sake." I agreed. $15,000. The spa closed in 3 months. Not a single apology. Ashley moved back in with our parents and brought her new boyfriend to sleep in my old room. The room where I once studied, dreamed, and silently cried when Mom praised Ashley in front of my friends. This time, the boyfriend was Brian. The biggest slap life ever gave me? Coming home for the weekend to find Brian, wearing my jacket, making tea in my parents' kitchen. It took 2 weeks before Ashley admitted, "Yeah, we hooked up while you were away on that business trip." I didn't cry. I just walked out, and I never stepped foot in that room again. But Ashley never thought she was wrong. She was always the victim in the story my parents wanted to believe. "Your sister had a tougher childhood. You don't understand what she's been through. You live too far. If you're successful, it's your duty to support her. That's what family does." Family. They said that word more than they ever said, "Thank you." When I was 27, my dad had a work accident, slipped in a lumber warehouse and fractured his spine. Insurance covered part of it. I paid the rest. I didn't complain, didn't ask for anything. Ashley? She never even visited the hospital. Her reason? "I'm scared of blood. Plus, I just broke up with someone. I'm not in the right headspace." And Dad? "She's a girl. Being sensitive is normal." While I was drowning in loan payments from my first startup investment, Ashley was posting selfies from Mexico with the hashtag #healingmysoul. I sent money home every month so my parents could get by. Dad was out of work and Mom was aging. But all I ever heard was, "Your sister's been through a lot. Not everyone's as lucky as you. Don't compare yourself to her." I never did compare. I just wanted to be treated fairly. I just wanted maybe once to hear my mom say, "You did great. I'm proud of you." I used to think the day I sold my company would be the peak of my life. And on paper it was. Because who doesn't dream of signing off on $9 million after pouring their entire youth into it? Blood, sweat, and tears. The problem? I was naive enough to believe it would also be the moment my family would finally be proud of me. I imagined my dad hugging me, saying, "I had no idea you were this brilliant." My mom would cry. Ashley would, just once, admit, "You actually did something incredible." No one said any of that. The day I signed the deal to sell More Secure to a tech conglomerate in San Francisco, I called my mom right away. My voice was shaking. I was still riding that high. "Mom, I did it. I just sold the company. They accepted my asking price." I waited. 1 second. 2. "So, what? You're a millionaire now?" she said, her voice flat. Yeah, something like that." "Well, you gonna send your dad some money to fix up his truck? It's been rattling for a month." That was my mom's reaction to her daughter selling a multi-million-dollar company. After that call, I decided to give myself something I'd been dreaming of since I was 17. A home of my own. Not a cramped rental in Seattle. Not a show-off penthouse. Just a place that made me feel safe. Warm. Mine. I picked a contemporary cabin in the hills of Boulder, Colorado. Tucked in the pines, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the valley, and an outdoor bathtub surrounded by nature. The asking price was $9.8 million, but the agent said we could close at $8 million cash. Seller wanted it fast, no banks, no fuss. Everything was lined up. I called Pacific Northwest Bank, where I'd had both my business and personal accounts for 5 years, and requested to withdraw $8 million in cash. I know, it sounds crazy, but it's legal. I'd hired a high-end security firm run by an old contact, Night watch security. They had anti-tamper bags, GPS tracking, armed escorts, and multi-million-dollar insurance. I only planned to hold the cash for one night, just until the closing the next day in Denver. While I was debating between renting a secure vault or using a bank safe, my mom called. Stop overcomplicating things. Just bring the money to my house. That safe you installed in my office last year? It's still there. No one's gonna break in. I hesitated. But then she added, I know you don't trust anyone, but this house is your house. If there's anyone left you can trust, it should be me. I gave in. That morning, I went to the bank, signed a mountain of paperwork, and met with Mr. Thompson, the branch manager, whose face was tense as a wire. I still think you should go with a wire transfer, Ms. Moore. Cash is risky. I smiled. The seller insisted, I've prepared everything. It's just for one night. They counted each stack of bills in front of me. Every single note sealed into duffel bags equipped with RFID tracking chips. 3 black duffel bags, each weighing about 30 pounds. 2 security guards escorted me into the private SUV I'd rented. We took the scenic route back to Spokane, to the single-story house where my mom lived. A quiet neighborhood with a rose garden in the backyard. The one she used to dream of when I was little. I gave her that garden 3 years ago. When the security SUV pulled up, my mom came out, not surprised, not alarmed. Wow, looks like something out of a Hollywood movie. Ashley was there too, pretending to sweep leaves, acting busy, but her eyes never left the bags. I showed Trevor, the lead guard, where the safe was. In my mom's office, hidden behind a sliding bookshelf. I had it installed myself 2 years ago. It was a high-security safe, digital keypad, physical key, fireproof, drill-proof, with motion sensors. The money went inside. They locked it. I verified the GPS tracker was active, then signed the release papers. We'll be back to pick you up at 9 a.m. tomorrow, Trevor said before leaving. That night, it felt staged. Mom cooked spaghetti, something she used to hate. Ashley kept hovering, asking obsessive questions about my new house. Does your new place have a safe? Think you'll need a maid? That kind of money must come with a huge exchange fee, huh? I gave polite laughs, but something in my gut felt off. Around 10 p.m., Mom said she had a call from Linda from the garden club, then shut herself in her room. Ashley was glued to her phone, texting nonstop. I stayed up past midnight, tossing and turning on the same old bed. I thought I was past all this. But that night, in that house so quiet it felt like it was holding its breath, unease crept into my bones like a chill. I woke up the next morning at 7:30. The house was silent. No smell of coffee, no sound of Mom banging pots, no sign of Ashley's car in the driveway. I called out, Mom? Ashley? Silence. I walked toward the office, the bookshelf, slightly ajar. Hands shaking, I pulled it open. The safe was wide open, empty. The 3 duffel bags, gone. I screamed, tore through every room, nothing. On the dining table was a handwritten note, unmistakably my mom's handwriting. Jenna, your sister finally has a chance to start over. Thank you for your sacrifice, like always. Your father and I went with her. Don't come looking. Learn to forgive. Mom. I collapsed. The letter slipped from my hands. Everything shattered. My scream echoed back at me through the 4 walls I used to call home. I sat frozen on the kitchen floor, cold, rough, unforgiving. My mother's note still in my hand, her swirling cursive, felt like a slap to the face of someone stupid enough to trust. I don't remember how long I sat there, maybe 5 minutes, maybe half a lifetime, until my hands started shaking uncontrollably, and a sob escaped from somewhere deep in my throat. I've lost boyfriends, investors, faith in humanity. But never did I imagine I'd lose both my mother and sister in one blow. Not because they died, but because they willingly murdered every memory I ever held dear of what family meant. I called Jason, my boyfriend, my fingers shaking so bad it took 3 tries to dial the right number. He answered, groggy. Hello. Jenna? I don't even know what I said. Probably just crying. Maybe gasping. The first thing he heard clearly was, "They took everything. Jason, Mom and Ashley, they're gone. With the money." Whoa, slow down, who's gone? Where are you right now? I'm at my mom's. The safe. It's empty. They left a note, Jason, thanking me for the money, telling me not to look for them. I heard a sharp exhale on the other end, then the sound of him jumping out of bed, keys jingling, the door slamming shut. I'm on my way. Stay put. Don't go anywhere. 20 minutes later, Jason showed up, still in his worn MITT and gray sleep pants. Hair messy, eyes red, but the look on his face when he walked through the door? It was the look of someone who just found out the person he loves got stabbed in the back by their own blood. He found me sitting like a ghost on the living room couch. The same one Mom used to scold me on for not folding my blankets right. Jason came over and pulled me into his arms. For the first time in my life, I felt so small, like I had no strength left to fight reality. After I told him everything, from bringing the money, the security guards, the safe, that weird dinner, to the empty house, Jason didn't hesitate. "We need to call the police. Now." I nodded, but I couldn't move. Jason made the call. 40 minutes later, 2 local officers arrived. They listened carefully, took down my statement, photographed the note. Then they asked the one question that shattered me. "Do you have any proof that this wasn't a voluntary gift?" I blinked. "What did you just say?" "I mean, you brought the money to your mom's house. You placed it in her safe. There's no footage of a theft. And her note literally says, 'Thank you for the money.' Their lawyer could argue you gifted it to them." The whole room shattered again. I left it there for one night. Just one night. I was closing on a house the next day. The young officer kept scribbling, his eyes showing the kind of fatigue that only comes from seeing too many families destroyed over money. "We'll forward this to a senior investigator. In cases involving family asset disputes, the original intent is critical." I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood. I wanted to scream. My original intent was to trust my mother. That afternoon, Detective Sarah Martinez called. Her voice was low, sharp, but carried a strange empathy. "I'll be taking over your case personally. Based on what you told the officers, this sounds like a serious fraud situation." She came that very night. I showed her everything. The withdrawal receipt from the bank, the security firm contract, surveillance footage of me picking up the cash. Martinez didn't say a word for a few minutes. Then she asked, "Did anyone else know about this cash?" "Just Jason. And my mom and Ashley. I didn't tell anyone else." "Do you still have a copy of the real estate transaction contract?" I handed it over. She took detailed notes. 2 days later, Martinez came back with the first real update. They left the U.S. on a private charter out of Oregon. No TSA, no commercial records. They used fake documents. My chest tightened. Where did they go? Cayman Islands, but we believe that was just a stopover. There's a good chance they used second fake passports to go elsewhere. But the shock didn't stop there. One afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. The photo made my blood run cold. My mom and Ashley, on the stairs of a private jet, huge sunglasses, grinning like they just won the lottery. Then an audio file played. Ashley's voice, sent from the same unknown number. "You're probably freaking out, huh? Oh, stop the act. Your whole life you've been the genius, the tech girl with all the money. Mom's old. I've got nothing. You've had everything. Now it's fair, don't worry. You made money once. You'll make it again, right?" I collapsed, shaking, not from the money, but from the realization that they had rehearsed every justification for this betrayal long before they did it. In their eyes, I was just a walking ATM, a sister, a daughter who didn't know how to share. Jason sat beside me, speechless. He just held my hand while I silently wanted to rip apart a world that taught me blood can't betray you. But they did. They didn't just take my money. They took my memories, my dignity, and every shred of belief I had in the word family. There's one thing people rarely mention about betrayal. It doesn't come all at once. It comes in waves, again and again, each time pulling you under just when you thought you'd found your footing. After Ashley's text and voicemail, I couldn't cry anymore. Tears are a resource, and I had exhausted mine in the first 3 days. All that remained was this hollow space in my chest, where pain should be, but even faking okayness felt impossible. I didn't work. I didn't open my laptop. I didn't eat. The story hadn't made the press, because I tried to keep it quiet. But rumors travel faster than Wi-Fi. A week after the money disappeared, I got an email from Tech Vision magazine. We regret to inform you that we're pulling the feature. The editorial board needs to wait for official clarification regarding recent financial instability. Before I could respond, a second email arrived from Marcus Ellison, the investor who'd wanted me as a strategic advisor. Jenna, we'll need to pause our negotiations. Our legal team needs to assess your current personal credit risk. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because everything had crumbled so fast, there was nothing left to hold on to. One act of betrayal from family had unraveled a career I'd built like a castle on sand. Jason tried to help. He cooked, cleaned, called therapists, even suggested a getaway, but I was unresponsive. I can't see anything, Jason. Everything's foggy. I wake up and I don't even know what I'm living for anymore. I began seeing Dr. Elaine Foster, a therapist who specialized in trauma caused by family betrayal. Her office smelled like cinnamon, with soft abstract paintings and a tiny cactus on the coffee table. The first session, I didn't speak. By the third, I managed one sentence. If they ever really loved me, how could they do this to me? Dr. Foster tilted her head, her voice soft as wind. Love without gratitude is the easiest thing to twist. Sometimes people don't betray you because they don't love you. They do it because they believe they deserve what's yours. 3 weeks later, Detective Martinez called me. We found your mom's old laptop in the garage before they fled. Forensics is working to recover the data. 3 days later, she updated me. Jenna, we need to meet. There are documents you need to see. We sat in a small conference room at the precinct. The screen lit up with a photo of a handwritten list titled, Jenna's Weaknesses. It was my mother's handwriting. Below were a series of bullet points. Trusts people. Never double-checks loans under her name. Always pays off Ashley's debts if she cries. No real best friends. Lonely. Always feels guilty if called selfish. I read it over and over. Every line felt like a blade. Not because it was wrong, but because it was cruelly accurate. Next to that list was a bank file, a secondary credit account opened in my name, by my mother, 8 years ago. It was now overdrawn by more than $120,000. My mouth dropped open. When did this even happen? 2016. While you were in Silicon Valley, your parents used it to take out a loan for home renovations, then gave the rest to Ashley to open a mini gym. The account is under the name Jenna Amour. I dropped my head onto the table. Every new discovery felt like a punch, straight to the trust I once had in my family. The next blow came from an unexpected source. Richard Bennett, the lawyer I'd hired to handle the dissolution of my old company. He called and said, "A law firm representing the buyers of your company is questioning your financial transparency. Rumor has it your assets were stolen, but you delayed reporting it to the police." I reported it the moment I found out. I believe you, but they don't need the truth. They just need a reason to discredit you. Jenna, I'm afraid you're about to face legal fire from multiple directions. That's when I realized betrayal by your own family doesn't just wreck you emotionally. It brings your entire external world crashing down. I was no longer just the woman who got her money stolen. I was labeled naive, reckless, a liability, someone who can't manage her own assets. I used to be a tech prodigy. Now I was a cautionary tale in boardroom meetings. Jason started to wear down. He didn't say it, but I saw it in his eyes, when I refused to eat, refused to go out, refused even his touch. You've been a ghost for nearly a month, Jenna. You can't just stay here haunted like this. I sighed. They destroyed everything. You don't understand. No, you don't let anyone understand. You shut everyone out and drown alone in your pain. Because pain is all I have left, Jason. That night, he walked out of the room with a small suitcase. I'm staying at Greg's for a few days. When you're ready to start living again, call me. I sat alone, the silence of 4 walls pressing in. I opened my laptop, pulled up the Boulder home contract. The word "canceled" screamed in red across the screen like blood on paper. I'd lost the house, the money, my mother, my sister, my love, my reputation, everything I once called me. I thought about deleting everything, vanishing from tech life altogether, just disappearing. Then the phone rang. It was Trevor, the security guy from that day. Ms. Moore, sorry to call this late, but I need to speak with you. In person, not over the phone. What? About what? It's about the money. There's something you need to know. Something that could change everything. Trevor's 2 a.m. call didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a hairline crack in a wall I thought had completely collapsed. But maybe, just maybe, there was still a way out. I need to see you. Urgently. I can't explain over the phone. Trevor, it's 2 in the morning. Can't this wait until daylight? It's about the money. Please, just trust me. It's not what you think. An hour later, he showed up at my apartment door, still in his night watch security uniform, the firm I had hired. He stepped inside, scanned the room like someone afraid of being bugged, then placed a folder on my table and said something I never saw coming. The money your mother and sister took, it was fake. I froze. My heart stopped for a few seconds. What? Trevor, are you joking? No, Jenna, I'm dead serious. And here's the proof. He opened the folder. Inside was a signed authorization to swap real cash for high-grade training replicas. Signed, Jenna Moore. I was stunned. I never signed this. You did. 3 days before the withdrawal, you went to the main office, spoke to Kyle, our director, and told him you suspected your mom and sister. You requested a full swap with identical replicas embedded with GPS trackers and molecular markers. You said, if they take the money, I want to know where they take it. I don't remember. You're in shock. Or maybe it was all too overwhelming. But Kyle has security footage. And this is your signature. I held the paper. It was real. My handwriting, the right date. A red ink note at the bottom. In case of betrayal from within the family. A flash of memory hit me like lightning. The day I signed the withdrawal forms, Kyle had pulled me aside for 5 minutes. He handed me a supplemental security protocol, said it was standard for large amounts. I signed it in a hurry. I didn't read it, but now I was grateful that fear had driven me to subconsciously protect myself. Where's the real money? I asked, my voice trembling. In our military-grade vault at HQ, all 3 duffel bags, untouched. And my mom. Ashley? They're carrying fake cash. Every bag is tagged. You can track their every step if you want. I broke down in tears, not from pain, but because for the first time in over a month, I finally felt like I had some control again. The next morning, I arrived at Nightwatch headquarters, standing before a steel vault door nearly 8 inches thick, secured with 3 layers of access: fingerprint, passcode, and voice recognition. When the door opened, bright white lights bathed the 3 familiar black duffel bags. I stepped forward, unzipped one bag, and there it was. Stack after stack of real money. The scent of bank ink, the seal tape. I grabbed a bundle, my hands trembling. It was real, and I was no longer empty-handed. I want every piece of tracking data from the past month. It's all right here, Trevor said, handing me a tablet. On it was a global map, bright tracking dots moving along paths, GPS data, satellite images, flight arrivals, even hotel receipts. I called Detective Martinez and set a meeting. When she arrived, I handed her the device. I know you see me as a victim, but now, I want to be the one who fights back. Martinez reviewed the data, then gave a faint smile. You're not just a victim, Jenna. You're a survivor. And soon, you'll be the one who wins. I assembled a small team. Haley Winters, college best friend, former COO of my startup. Kyle Green, director of Night Watch. Detective Martinez, legal and investigative lead. Richard Bennett, my personal attorney. We met in a secured briefing room at Night Watch HQ. A world map covered one wall, marked with my mother and sister's travel routes. Beneath the table were thick files, hotel logs, CCTV stills, everything. They're burning through the fake money fast, Haley observed. If they think it's real, they're not being cautious. According to their route, next stop is Milan. They've booked the penthouse at Palazzo Peri. Very private, Trevor added. What can we do? I asked. Italian financial police have been alerted, Martinez confirmed. All we need is your presence and confirmation of the counterfeit bills for formal arrest. The plan was locked in. Haley and I would fly to Milan a day early. Kyle would handle on-site surveillance. Martinez would coordinate with Italian authorities. Richard would file for extradition and build the fraud, money laundering, and international deception charges. I drafted my confrontation script, preparing for something I never thought I'd get, looking them in the eye and saying, I didn't fall apart. I learned how to rise. The night before the flight, Jason texted me. Are you okay? I replied, not entirely. But I'm finding myself again, and this time, I won't let anyone bury her. Milan welcomed me with early summer sunlight, golden like honey, sharp like a shot of unsweetened espresso. A city known for fashion, art, and dinners that stretch past midnight. But today, for me, it was a stage for a performance I was no longer willing to watch. This time, I was directing it. Palazzo Peri, the hotel where my mom and Ashley booked their penthouse, sat hidden on an old cobblestone street. They'd been there 2 days. According to Kyle's report, they'd spent lavishly on clothes, designer bags, Italian wine, and a pair of handcrafted shoes that cost over 12,000 euros. That night, they reserved a private table at La Scalara, a Michelin-starred restaurant with no prices on the menu, because guests there don't ask, and they thought they belonged. I wore a simple black dress, hair pinned up, red lipstick, not to seduce, but to remind myself. I wasn't Jenna the cold tech queen anymore. I was a woman about to reclaim her voice. Haley waited at the bar, watching. Kyle was parked outside with tracking equipment, linked to the Italian financial police. Detective Martinez stood near the entrance, flanked by 2 undercover Italian officers. Everything was set. All that was left was me. I walked into La Scalara at 8:15 p.m. Golden lighting washed over everything like a staged dream. I spotted them in the corner, champagne already poured, a Hermes bag proudly displayed on the table like a statement piece. My mom wore an emerald green dress, auburn-dyed hair, oversized sunglasses, indoors. Ashley looked thinner, paler, with ocean blue contacts. I walked over calmly, like this was our weekly dinner catch-up. Excuse me, is this seat taken? They both looked up, their expressions I'll never forget. First shock, then panic, and finally anger, not shame, just the fury of being caught. How the hell did you find us? Ashley snapped. I smiled faintly and took a seat. Wasn't hard. People like you think you're hiding, but then you check into a 5-star hotel, post your Rolex wrist on Instagram, and pay in cash loaded with tracking chips. My mom found her voice. Why are you here? What more do you want? You're rich. You don't need that money. Your sister and I. Betrayed me. I cut her off, pulled out a stack of bills from my wallet and held it up to the light, letting the fake watermark, faded ink, and dead security strips speak for themselves. This is what you stole. Not money, paper. Printed with military-grade simulation, embedded with trackers and molecular markers. Every move you made? Logged silence. My mom's hand shook holding her glass. Ashley lunged and smacked the stack of cash. You set us up. You trapped your own family. Number one, I just protected myself. Because I finally realized the people I called family were willing to sell me out to play the victim. I defended myself and the truth. A pause. Then my mother whispered, I sacrificed for you. My whole life, I lived for you girls, and now. And then you took $8 million with my sister and left me a message like I deserved it. I leaned back and exhaled. If it was just money, I might have given it. But you wanted more. You wanted the power to make me feel guilty for succeeding. I glanced toward the door. Martinez nodded. 2 Italian officers approached. Signora Moore, Signorina Moore, please come with us to clarify the origin of the counterfeit currency you've been distributing. My mom didn't resist. Ashley snapped. You think this makes you a winner, Jenna? You're still alone. No one loves you. You're just a lonely robot. I stood up, looked her straight in the eyes. That's right. But at least I don't survive by stealing what others bled to earn. 2 months later, they were charged with transporting counterfeit money, attempted grand larceny, and falsifying documents. The verdict: 5 years for my mother, 3 for Ashley. I didn't write a victim impact statement. When Richard asked why, I simply said, they lost something more important than freedom, themselves. 3 months later, I bought back the old house in Boulder, not to live in, but to rebuild it my way. I chose a smaller, warmer home, with wooden windows facing pine trees, and a balcony just big enough for tea with people I trust. Jason came back. Not all at once, but piece by piece. We went to couples therapy, rebuilding what we had, not to forget, but to prove that love is still possible, even after everything. One evening, sitting on the porch, I told Jason, you know, if they had just asked, I might have given them some of it. He nodded. But for people like them, asking is weakness, stealing is power. I'm not telling this story for pity. I'm telling it because I know, somewhere out there, someone has been betrayed by their own family and thinks they've lost everything. I'm here to say, being betrayed doesn't make you lesser. It just reveals who's standing on a foundation built on lies. And sometimes, justice isn't about winning a lawsuit. It's knowing you still breathe, still believe, still love, without turning into a bitter version of the one who hurt you. I didn't seek revenge. I simply returned the truth and claimed my own freedom.